Hello everybody, welcome to another Nephilim build. Today we're going to flash forward as Barry Allen, the Flash from DC Comics. As always, keep in mind that these videos are about capturing the spirit of the character rather than capturing their abilities perfectly. With that said, let's start with ability scores. Using the standard point array, we'll put the 15 in dexterity. The fastest man alive needs a high initiative. Next we'll put the 14 in intelligence and the 13 into wisdom. Barry was a forensic scientist and you need good perception when you're moving fast. We'll put the 12 into constitution, the speed force acts like a damage buffer, and the 10 into charisma. All the flashes are quippy. Okay, real talk, I've not watched the old animated series in decades and I thought that Flash was Barry. Still, you can't be a speedster character without being a trickster. It's the law. Lastly, we'll dump strength, we won't need it. For species, we're going to go with human, no duh there. Huh, feels weird not to say variant. Also, I just realized that there was a bit I wanted to do if I ever made Megamine from Konosuba that I literally can't do anymore. Remember viewers, don't let your memes be dreams. We'll get resourceful, giving us heroic inspiration whenever you finish a long rest. Heroic inspiration is basically a free reroll. You get one, and if something happens that would give you another, you lose it unless you give it to someone else. We also get a free skill and an extra origin feat. We'll take medicine, I feel like that's useful for forensic investigation, and alert. This new alert lets you add your proficiency bonus to your initiative and lets you swap your place in the initiative order with a willing ally when you roll initiative. You can't do this if either of you are incapacitated. We'll also speed common and primordial since the speed force comes with a lot of lightning. We're going to take the scribe background since that feels like it fits better than sage. It also lets us put our increases in dexterity, wisdom, and intelligence. We'll also get investigation and perception and calligrapher supplies, as well as the skilled feat. We'll use this to take proficiency in alchemist supplies, insight, and survival. He created a philosopher's stone. Insight is good for criminology, and I feel like survival would help with forensics. Moving on to class, we're going to start off as a monk. We'll get strength and dexterity saving throws and pick athletics and acrobatics for skills. We'll also be proficient with monk weapons, which are now defined as simple weapons and martial weapons with the light property. So basically everything they already had plus scimitars. We'll also be proficient with carpenter supplies. He legit built an apartment building by himself after it burnt down. At level 1 we get unarmored defense, making our AC 10 plus our dex and wisdom mods when we're naked. We also get martial arts, which lets us make an unarmed strike as a bonus action and lets us use dexterity instead of strength for our unarmed strikes and monk weapons. We can also replace the normal damage die of our attack with a martial arts die, which starts off as a d6 and gets bigger at levels 5, 11, and 17. This also requires us to be naked and to not have a shield. Now, I just want to call Watsy out real quick. How the fuck are you gonna give weapon mastery to every martial class in the game except the monk? Trick question, I already know the answer. It's because they listened to people complaining about the base class in 5e, which was perfectly balanced and everyone was just playing them wrong, and they overcorrected with the new version. The base class is now busted and weapon mastery would be overkill. I mean, can you imagine a monk with the Nick property? That's 3 attacks at level 1, 4 at level 2, and 5 at level 5. Hell, you can still have that with a single level dip in any of the other martial classes. But seriously, we'll probably get them whenever they reprint the Kensei. And they better reprint the Kensei. Anyway, time to focus. Speaking of, at level 2 we'll get Monk's Focus. This is literally just key points, but now they're called focus points for some pointless reason. Someone really should have a talk with whoever was in charge of naming things with this edition. You get a number of points equal to your monk level, and expended points come back after a short or long rest. Right now we can use them on 3 things: Flurry of Blows, Patient Defense, and Step of the Wind. Flurry of Blows lets us spend a focus point to make 2 unarmed strikes as a bonus action. One thing to note is that this and our single unarmed strike no longer need to follow the attack action. Patient Defense and Step of the Wind let us take the disengage and dash actions as a bonus action respectively and spend a focus point to dodge at the same time. Step of the Wind also doubles your jump distance when you spend a focus point. We also get unarmored movement, increasing our movement speed by 10 while naked and increasing by 5 at level 6, 10, 14, and 18. We also get a new feature, Uncanny Metabolism, which lets us regain all expended focus points when we roll for initiative once per long rest. Because apparently coming back on a short rest isn't good enough for you people because y'all don't take short rests. But is that the monk's fault? No. We also regain hit points equal to our monk level plus a roll of our martial arts die. At level 3 we get deflect attacks. When we're hit by an attack roll that deals slashing, piercing, or bludgeoning damage, we can use our reaction to reduce the damage by an amount equal to 1d10 plus our monk level and dex modifier. If we reduce the damage to 0, we can spend a focus point to target a creature within 5 feet of us if it was a melee attack, or 60 feet if it was ranged. The creature must succeed on a dex save or take damage equal to 2 rolls of our martial arts die plus our dex mod. The damage type is the same as the original attack. I imagine this playing out like that one Quicksilver scene. We also get our monastic tradition because I refuse to just say class subclass. We'll take the warrior of the open hand, getting open hand technique. This lets us add an extra effect to a creature hit by one of our flurry of blows attacks. With Addle, the target can't make opportunity attacks until the start of their next turn. Push pushes them 15 feet on a failed strength save, and Topple knocks them prone on a failed dex save. At level 4 we get slow fall, letting us reduce fall damage by an amount equal to 5 times our monk level. Also, what is fall damage? Wow, that was forced. I'm still figuring out how I want to do this. I'm thinking I might just explain the new stuff once and move on. What do you think? We'll also take the speedy feat, bumping dexterity. This is the new mobile, boosting your speed by 10, ignoring difficult terrain, and giving opportunity attacks against us disadvantage. We're not going to multiclass the wizard, getting arcane recovery at level 1. At the end of a short rest, we can restore spell slots whose combined levels are equal to or less than half our wizard level rounded up. These slots can't be higher than 5th level. We'll also get 3 cantrips. We'll take Shocking Grasp for a static punch, letting us make a melee spell attack. The target takes 1d8 lightning damage on a hit and can't take opportunity attacks until their next turn. This used to have advantage on creatures wearing metal armor, but it looks like that was taken off. We'll also take Blade Ward to fill the slot and Prestidigitation for various effects. Minor Creation creates an illusory trinket or a hand-sized image until the end of your turn. Magic Mark creates a color, mark, or symbol on an object for an hour. Minor Sensation lets you chill, warm, or flavor up to 1 cubic foot of non-living material for an hour. Clean or soil will clean or soil an object up to 1 cubic foot in size. Now we're using this to skip bath time, I guess. Fireplay will light or snuff a candle, torch, or small campfire, and Sensory Effect creates a harmless sensory effect which we'll use for static electricity effects. You can have up to 3 non-instantaneous effects active at a time. Whew, definitely not saying all of that every time I take this spell. We'll also prepare for our spells. This is now a set number no longer dependent on our end mod, but still different from spells known. As usual, we're sticking with prepared spells. We'll take Chromatic Orb, you make a ranged spell attack and deal 3d8 acid, cold, fire, lightning, poison, or thunder damage of your choice. If you roll the same number on 2 or more of the dice, you can make another attack roll on a different target within 30 feet of the first one. This can happen a number of times equal to the spell slot used. And since the number of damage dice also increases, the odds of this happening increases. It's honestly rare for a first level spell to upcast so well. Anyway, we'll use this for a kind of poor man's chain lightning. We'll also take Witch Bolt for another lightning blast. This spell got the glow up of the century. You make a ranged spell attack and deal 2d12 lightning damage on a hit. Then while the spell lasts, you can use a bonus action on each subsequent turn to deal another 1d12 to the target. No attack roll, no saving throw, you don't even have to hit on the first attack, they just eat it. We'll also take Longstrider to increase our speed by 10 feet and Silvery Barbs for some smack talk. This spell wasn't reprinted, so no explanation here. At level 2 we'll get Scholar, letting us get expertise in a skill we're proficient in out of all of the intelligence skills and medicine. Which just further begs the age-old question of why medicine isn't intelligence. Anyway, we'll pick Investigation. We'll also take Disguise Self for a quick change of clothes. At level 3 we got our Arcane Tradition, taking Blade Singing for light armor, a weapon proficiency we don't need, performance, and Blade Song. It's the I'm gonna get in the paint subclass, and it even boosts our speed. We'll also take Mirror Image for speedy after images. You make 3 duplicates, and when you get hit with an attack roll, you roll a d6 for each duplicate you have. If any of them roll a 3 or higher, a duplicate gets hit instead and is destroyed. Otherwise, they're immune to everything. A creature that is blinded or has blind sight or true sight ignores this. At level 4, we'll take the Elemental Adept Lightning Feat, bumping intelligence. Our spells ignore lightning resistance, and we can treat 1s on damage dice as 2s. We'll also take Thunderclap to casually break the sound barrier. Each creature within 5 feet of us takes 1d6 thunder damage on a failed Constitution save. We'll also take Blur to vibrate so hard that attacks phase through us. Attack rolls against us have disadvantage unless the attacking creature has blind sight or true sight. At level 5 we'll get Memorize Spell, letting us swap one of our prepared spells for another spell in our spellbook after a short rest. We'll also take Haste to double our speed, gain a +2 to our AC, and gain advantage on dex saves. We can also take an extra Dash, Disengage, Hide, Utilize, or Attack action. We can only make 1 attack with that action though, and when the spell ends we're incapacitated and have a speed of 0 until the end of our next turn. At level 6, we'll get the Bladesinger extra attack and take enhanced ability for superhuman feats. We pick an ability score other than Constitution and have advantage on checks using that ability, a much simpler version of the spell. At level 7, we'll take Conjure Minor Elementals. Now, this doesn't actually summon creatures anymore. Instead, we gain a 15-foot emanation, and any attack rolls we make on a creature within that emanation deal an additional 2d8 damage. This damage can be our choice of acid, cold, fire, or lightning. The emanation is difficult terrain, and this is the juicy part, the damage increases by 2d8 for each level it's upcast. There is no way this was intentional. This is clearly a typo that slipped past everyone, but I'm not complaining. This is an elemental spirit shroud on steroids. At level 8, we'll take the Charge of Feet Pumping Dexterity. Whenever we dash, our speed increases by 10 for that dash, and there's nothing to suggest that this doesn't stack. I just don't know if you apply this before or after doubling with haste. Considering you're already hasted when you dash, I'm gonna say it applies after. Also, if we move at least 10 feet in a straight line towards a creature before hitting it with a melee attack roll as part of our attack action, we can either do 1d8 extra damage or push the creature 10 feet away. This only triggers once per turn, so no chaining the push. That said, it doesn't say melee weapon attack, just melee attack roll, so this should still apply to Shocking Grasp if you make it as part of your Bladesinger extra attack. Just saying. We'll also take Lightning Bolt for a bigger lightning blast. Creatures in a 100-foot long, 5-foot wide line take 8d6 lightning damage on a failed save, or half as much on a successful one. Now, I've never been shy about admitting that I don't know too much about comic book characters, and I should point out that the fandom wiki lists lightning blasts under former powers. This same wiki also gives no indication of why these powers are considered former powers, but if it's good enough for Death Battle to include, it's good enough for me to include. Back to Monk, at level 5 we get Stunning Strike. Once per turn when we hit with a Monk weapon or unarmed strike, we can spend a focus point to force a con save. On a failed save, the creature is stunned until the start of our next turn. On a success, the target speed is halved until the start of our next turn, and the next attack roll against them has advantage. Now, the fact that something happens even if the creature succeeds on the save is nice, but I think the real buff is the fact that you can only do it once per turn. Since apparently everyone kept blowing their load on 4 stunning strikes in one turn and then complaining that they were out of key. Now you have to conserve. At level 6, we'll get Empowered Strikes, letting us turn our unarmed strikes into force damage or the regular damage. I personally consider this a nerf since, as far as I can remember, I don't think there were any creatures that were immune to magical bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing damage. I could be wrong about that, but I do know that there is at least one creature that is immune to force damage, the Helmed Horror, and they also resist non-magical damage. And in this version of the feature, the regular damage of your attacks are no longer considered magical. We'll also get Wholeness of Body, letting us heal ourselves an amount equal to our martial arts die plus our wisdom mod. We can use this a number of times equal to our wisdom mod per long rest. At level 7, we get Evasion, letting us take only half damage when we fail a dex save to reduce damage, and no damage if we succeed. The fastest man alive had better be good at dodging. At level 8, we'll cap our dexterity, and at level 9, we'll get Acrobatic Movement. This lets us run across water and vertical surfaces without falling while we move, just so long as we're naked. At level 10, we'll get Self-Restoration, letting us remove an instance of Charmed, Frightened, or Poisoned at the end of our turn. We also no longer get Exhaustion from eating or not drinking, but we don't get Poison immunity anymore. Sad times. We also get Heightened Focus, boosting our base focus abilities. Whenever we spend a focus point on Patient Defense, we gain temp HP equal to 2 rolls of our martial arts die. When we spend a focus point on Step of the Wind, we can take a buddy within 5 feet of us along for the ride. This also doesn't provoke opportunity attacks on our friend. Now the weird one is Flurry of Blows. It says, quote, you can expend 1 focus point to use Flurry of Blows and make 3 unarmed strikes with it instead of 2. It doesn't say you spend an extra focus point, but it also doesn't just say your Flurry of Blows now does 3 attacks instead of 2. The fact that it says you can expend 1 focus point while the other ones say when you expend a focus point makes me think we spend an extra point. Which is honestly fair, they gave monks too much in this reprint. And I'm not complaining about that, but you guys are gonna learn real quick how badly y'all fucked up. This is what happens when you complain about a mobile backline skirmisher not hitting like a frontline DPS. At level 11, we'll get Fleet Step, which lets us use Step of the Wind for free immediately after using any other bonus action. Remember how people complained that monks couldn't dash or disengage for free like rogues could, even though monks also doubled their jump distance with the same key point? And also their movement speed went up higher than anyone should without spending a resource? Well, now you can dash, disengage, and dodge all for 1 point. Are you happy yet, or do you want to do that for free too? Lastly, at level 12 we'll raise our wisdom. Now that we're level 20, we finally have our modifiers. For inventory, we're taking a component pouch for spellcasting. Our AC within our defense is 18, our movement speed is 60, and our average HP is 115 with 8d6 and 12d8 hit dice. And with that, we are done. Now what can this build do? Let's start with what everyone came here for, the speed. As before, our base movement speed is 60, which we can boost to 80 with Long Strider and Blade Song. We then double that to 160 with haste, giving us 2 actions and our bonus actions to dash with for 640. Each of those dashes adds another 10 feet with charger for 670. That's 20 more feet than the Sonic build. And it could have been higher if I'd taken 2 more levels of Monk, but I wanted Conjure Minor Elementals. Speaking of which, let's talk about combat. Let's start slow. For low level stuff, we can throw out a Witch Bolt as an action and still attack with our bonus action. After that, we can attack with our action while adding free bonus damage as our bonus action. We can also swap one of our attacks with Shocking Grasp, less likely to hit than a punch but significantly more damage if it hits. One level up is Haste, letting us play more defensively with a small AC boost and an extra attack. And even though we only get 1 hit, it's still an attack action, meaning we can trade that attack for another Shocking Grasp. And with the speed boost, staying out of reach is easy. But for the real beatdown, we've got Conjure Minor Elementals. 2d8 extra damage on 5 hits per turn, one of which can still be a Shocking Grasp since the spell doesn't specify weapon attacks. We've also got Mirror Image for all of this since it still doesn't require concentration. Oh, but Spiritual Weapon needed to be nerfed. For weaknesses, we're 1 Dorito chip in our gums away from Power Word kill range. Our ranged options are also limited, and multiple concentration spells means we have to choose carefully. Also, I guess shadows could be a threat since our strength score is so low. Weaknesses aside, the Flash always stays on point during a crisis. Also, sorry for going off about monks again, but I will die on the hill that the 5e base monk class was strong and everyone else was playing them wrong. Monks were rogues that traded raw single hit damage for mobility and more chances to hit. They were backline skirmishers, not frontline DPS. I just find it hilarious that people complain so much that WotC buffed monks to the point that they had to leave out a feature every other martial class gets just so monks wouldn't completely outperform all of them. Just to top it all off, the monks' real weakness was their subclasses, and those also got buffed. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you'd like to support my channel, there's a link to my Patreon down in the comments. $1 a month gets you 2-day early access to my videos, a chance to vote for future characters, and access to all of my homebrew content. Let me know what you thought of this video down in the comments. The next video was going to be Iron Man, but because I'm bad at planning ahead, we're going to switch things up for a spooky Halloween special.